With the Stanley Cup win for Rob Brendamore, I absolutely think he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Like, no ifs, ands, or buts. Welcome back to another episode from the Check It From Behind podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. I'm your host, Zach, as always, joined by my co-host, Preston. And the NHL, we're getting to that point of the offseason where now we're getting into the busiest time. The Stanley Cup Finals just end. Congratulations to the Carolina Hurricanes. We'll get to later this episode what a run they went on. But we're getting to that point in the NHL season where we're getting a ton of news. We already have 3 trades that we're going to go over, 2 coaching news, including the Maple Leafs finding their guy in Jim Hiller. And then obviously we discussed the Carolina Hurricanes winning the Stanley Cup, their first in about 20 years, and that insane run that they went on. And other than that, though, Preston, how are we doing this evening?
I'm excited to get going on the NHL offseason. I can't believe I keep forgetting the draft's next Friday.
Which is crazy. I remember, what was it? The last 2 years, I think it was, we had the draft like 4 days after. I will say it is a little bit nice to have a little bit of breathing room before the draft from the finals. It is nice. This season flew by. And NHL GMs, they saw the Carolina Hurricanes win the Stanley Cup and said, hold on so quick. Let's go ahead and make some trades here. And the Maple Leafs and the Flyers were the first of those major trades, per se, that were made. The Maple Leafs end up going and acquire Emil Andre, Samuel Ersson, and a third-round pick from the Philadelphia Flyers for Joseph Woll and Simone Benoit. My initial take was that the Leafs just got fucked. In my opinion, they got fleeced. But then I thought about it a little bit more. I said, it's not as bad as what it looks like. But again, I don't like the fact that the Leafs went ahead and they got a negative goal saved above expected goal, a backup goaltender in Ersson. And then they got a puck-moving defenseman in Emil Andre, which is good. They needed that, but he's like a 6th defenseman, in my opinion. He's not like, he doesn't jump off the page. He's like 5'9", and he's not super fast. He's quick, but he's not fast. And then you go over to the Flyers side where I thought they won this trade outright, in my opinion. You go out and you upgrade your backup goaltending role in Joseph Woll, who has a 33 goal saved above expected over the last 3 seasons. And you go out and add some grit and depth to their defense. Now, obviously, Benoit, again, doesn't move the needle on the blue line. But Briere ended up stating about the trade that he felt like they already had enough smaller guys on the blue line, decided to ship off Emil Andre. So, in my opinion, I like this for a lot for the Flyers, kind of puzzling for the Leafs here.
I think it's kind of a wash for both sides. I think the Flyers got the best player in this trade, and Joseph Woll, who's just a backup goaltender at this point. I have no reason to believe that Dan Vladar won't be the starter next year for the Flyers. Ersson, he's a backup. It is what it is. So you're essentially swapping backup goaltenders. Woll has a higher cap hit too, so this saves a little bit of money for the Maple Leafs. I know Andre and Ersson are both, I believe, RFA, so they both have to get signed. But I think combined they might cost less than what it costs to keep Joseph Woll next year. Yeah. And Andre has a little bit more offensive upside than Benoit, who's just like he's a bottom pair defenseman. So if anything, this helps Philadelphia toughen up their bottom pair a little bit and get a better backup goaltender. So and the Leafs get a 3rd-round pick back, so they get a little bit of draft compensation back where they can use all the draft picks they can get right now. So I think this trade kind of makes sense for both sides. It was kind of came out of nowhere. I didn't expect the Leafs to trade Joseph Woll, but this is fine for both sides. I really don't have an issue with it.
Yeah, and what I heard too is that Ersson, the Leafs honestly are like on the table of qualifying him or re-signing his rights, which is weird because you look at like why trade for a guy if you're not gonna do that. But again, I understand like having to clear some cap space, totally understand it from that aspect. And then we move on here to another trade. Nashville goes ahead and acquires Ross Colton and Isaac Post, and the Avalanche go ahead and acquire Magnus Krona, who is a goaltender from Nashville, a 2026 third-round pick, which is 74th overall, and then a 2027 third-round pick, which was originally Colorado, so they get that back. In terms of this trade, this felt like McFarland going out and getting his guy where it almost felt like the Avalanche kind of just wanted to clear some cap space. I mean, Colton, he's a very a low risk guy here where he has one more year left at $4 million cap hit. If things don't work out in Nashville, you just ship him off to a contender with that cap hit there as like a rental piece. Like, it doesn't hurt Nashville here, in my opinion. So honestly, I think this is a very even trade for both sides. And then you kind of have Magnus Krona, the goaltender there for the Avalanche, which he posted like an 870 save percentage in the AHL this past season. So nothing to bat an eye there. But Colorado does get some draft capital, which they desperately need. I look at this. I give the Predators a B-. I give the Avalanche a B+, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, the Avs really needed some center depth, some forward depth just in general. So he'll help that because the Predators' bottom six is like pretty freaking bad.
Yeah, it's down there as one of the worst in the league, in my opinion.
Yeah, so he'll fit right into that lineup where I think it was McFarland kind of looking at the Avs cap situation. He would know it better than almost anybody else in the league because he was their GM for years. So he kind of looks at that and says, like, Ross Colton's a guy that he went out and acquired and signed while he was a GM of the Colorado Avalanche. So this is clearly a player he likes a lot. And this will help the Predators now while they're in kind of a retooling phase and trying to get younger. So I like this trade for Nashville. And Colorado they're cap crunched, but it gives them a little bit of room to work with, and they get draft picks back, which they need. They literally have like no draft picks for the next few years, so they'll take what they can get.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you look at Nashville's size where right now they have $29.8 million in cap space to work with this offseason. They don't have many guys to re-sign. Like, the only UFAs you have are Eric Haula, Tyson Yost. If they do come back, they're going to be on vet minimums. But Tyson Yost did get placed on waivers there, so I highly doubt he comes back. And then you just have Justin Barron, who is an RFA. And then outside of that, nobody else. And like you brought up, like, their retooling phase right now, like bringing in a guy like Ross Colton to help bolster at least the depth for now, to wait for the younger guys like a Brady Martin to come in, and like an Ozzy Wasblatt to really make his presence known and to take that full-time jump to the NHL. I think it is a really good trade here, and it just is going to help bridge that gap between the older guys on the team and the vets and the younger guys there.
And if anything, they could just flip him at the deadline and retain half his salary and trade him to almost anybody in the league. So this just buys them a little bit more flexibility too at the deadline, where they can look at their team and be surprised if they're a playoff team next year, but they can look and probably get a decent return for him at the deadline, especially if they're willing to retain some money.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can get like with how people are going, like if he has,
probably at least a second round pick.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, you have guys like Gustav Nyquist and Michael McCarron going for a second. Why can't Ross Colton, unless he has a disastrous season, which I highly doubt. You move on here now to a trade that, in my opinion, was made out of left field now in terms of the player that was traded here, Michael Kesselring, who goes to the Sharks and the 27th overall pick. And then the Sabres end up acquiring the Sharks' 28th overall pick there. It wasn't a shock that the Sabres traded Michael Kesselring, right? We knew that relationship was tarnished. It was the fact that this trade just kind of happened, right? Usually you hear reports about teams that are in on a certain player, right? And the name of Michael Kesselring, and the Sharks are like, you know what? We'll take a hit on Michael Kesselring, who's 26 years old, right-handed defenseman. It didn't really work out in Buffalo. He played 34 games, 2 assists. A lot of the games that he played, I would say probably past the first of the year, maybe a little bit later. He would play like 2 shifts, and then they would just rotate 4D. He got benched all the way from the trade deadline until he had to play 1 game in the playoffs. He played like 4 minutes in that playoff game. So we knew the trade was coming here. The Sharks acquire his rights. I would expect them to extend him. I really like this for both teams, right? You have on starting on the Sharks side here, because I'm already talking about them, where they have a loaded forward group. They have like Macklin Celebrini, Willis Smith, William Eklund, and they have that forward group, right? Plus they have the second overall pick, where on the blue line, outside of Sam Dickinson, they don't have that bona fide like franchise defenseman, right? I think Sam Dickinson is a damn good young NHL player, right? But I don't classify him as a franchise defenseman, right? And Michael Kesselring isn't either, don't get me wrong, but he adds some stability to that blue line. And with the second overall pick, if they were to go out and get a guy like Chase Reed, all of a sudden you have your top three defensemen there in Reed, Kesselring, and Dickinson for the near futures. And then as for on the Sabres side here, you get the 20th overall pick. There are reports going around that they're looking to trade that pick, which we'll see what happens. Yarmo does want to be very aggressive here, but I think this is a very even trade.
Yeah, I think on the Sharks end, this fills a need that they really, really needed in a right shot defenseman, where I think all of their defensemen last year, outside of John Klingberg, were all left-handed shots. Mm-hmm. And so they get left a right-handed shot defenseman. I don't think this rules out them taking Chase Reed second overall. I still think it's still a coin flip, in my opinion, of whether they take Stenberg or Reed. I think I lean Reed because to get like a potential franchise defenseman is really valuable, and I don't see them having the second overall pick again next year. They'll be much better. And Kesselring gets a fresh start. I don't think he ever really got a chance to get his legs under him in Buffalo. He missed most of the start of the season. He came in late. He never really found his footing. They go out. They didn't think their depth was good enough going into the playoffs, so they go out and get Logan Stanley and Luke Shen, and Kesselring doesn't even play in the playoffs. He played like 2 shifts in the whole playoffs. So clearly, I don't think Lindy Ruff really trusted him that much as a defenseman. He gets a fresh start. The Sabres are lucky they got Josh Doan in that trade, because that would have ended up blowing up in their face if they didn't end up getting him. But I think it's a good value for the Sabres to move up 7 picks in the first round for a player that you had no intention of keeping anyway. You swap first. I think it's worth just moving up 7 spots. If you end up keeping the pick, you have a lot more options available. And then also, if you want to end up flipping that pick, that has more value in a trade.
Yeah, and what I heard around the Sabres too is that they were told, they were hearing or whatever when they were trying to make a bigger trade, that teams were asking if they can move up at least to the 20th overall pick in order to have some sort of value to throw on for a bigger trade. So Yarmo is definitely trying to be aggressive here. We're seeing one of the many moves here, and I mean, you're going, if you're the Sabres, right? Swapping picks and then on top of it, adding Michael Kesselring here. In my opinion, I think they did really well with that. It's kind of also like a cap move as well. I mean, you have Michael Kesselring, who is arbitration eligible, so you would have to eventually pay him some sort of money.
I don't know if the Sabres would have even ended up keeping him. I don't think I don't know if they would even wanted to tender him. I think that's how much they just wanted to move on from him.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you look at a guy like Kesselring, like you said before, he wasn't able to get his feet under him. He goes over to San Jose. Now he's going to be able to get an extended role. And you add Chase Reed to the mix. All of a sudden, you have Dickinson, Reed, and Kesselring on top of it, too. Like, you don't need a guy like Stenberg right now. Like, you have Michael Misa, Will Smith, like your top guns, like, on the Sharks roster. Like, this trade sets them up for even more success. I love it for both teams here. All right, so we're moving on here to some Vegas news. And I know they ended up just losing in the Stanley Cup Finals. We'll get to that there in a little bit. But John Tortorella officially will not be returning as the Golden Knights head coach. So what this means is that Ryan Craig has now taken over the role to be the Golden Knights head coach here. He's been their AHL coach in Henderson for the last 3 seasons, and he has a record of 96, 94, and 14 accumulative in those 3 seasons. Honestly, this kind of came as a shock to me. I thought with how the season went, John Tortorella would be back in Vegas, and Vegas is going to Vegas, and I'm not going to sit here and shit on this this organization more than what we already do. But John Tortorella said he wanted to be back in Vegas, and Vegas decided not to bring him back, and they went with Ryan Craig instead. And John Tortorella wants to coach next season, so we'll see.
Yeah, I think this is a move Vegas would have made even if they won the cup. Just from reading about what they've been saying about him, is they really like him as a coach. He's been in their coaching system since they became a team. He was an assistant coach for the first 6 years of their existence, and after they won the Stanley Cup, then he goes down to the AHL and is a head coach there. So he's familiar with the organization. Management's very comfortable with him. So logically, this makes sense, and I'll give a team credit for giving a new coach a chance instead of just recycling old names over and over and over again. Vegas likes to take bold risks, and I don't know if this is a bold one, but he has a lot of continuity with the players too. I know they have a lot of roster turnover, but he's been behind an NHL bench for 6 years. He's had coaching experience. It makes complete sense to me.
Yeah, and we always say here on Chucking for Mine that recycling coaches, it just gets old, right? Seeing the same coaches every single offseason get fired and then
there's a reason why they get fired every 2 or 3 years.
Exactly. And then to see, like, I know, again, we shit on Vegas a lot, but to see them take a chance on a new head coach that has NHL experience behind a bench, has head coaching experience on a professional team, like, this is the way that it should be done. And frankly, I think Vegas has the right move here in taking Ryan Craig, even though, again, I would love to see John Tortorella be behind the bench for Vegas. Like, I think in their aspect, it was this guy knew the players. I mean, I know, again, they've had a ton of roster turnover, like you said, but he knows the system. He knows the guys. He knows the organization just as well as anybody else does in the organization right now, right? So, again, I like this hire for Vegas. And then you go over to another head coaching hire as we talk about recycled head coaches. The Maple Leafs, what the fuck are you doing? They go ahead and hire John Hiller as their next head coach. So he's, I guess, LA's old head coach is what I'm going to say. But he was an assistant under Babcock from 2015 to 2019 in Toronto. So I get the hire and like familiarity with Matthews and Nylander, as he did end up running the power play and all that sort. But in LA, he just was mediocre. Like, we saw him as an interim head coach in 2023-24 with that record of 21-12-1. He lost in the first round, right? 24-25, he had a phenomenal season as the LA head coach, leading them to a 48-25-9 record. And then, of course, they blew a 2-0 lead in that series and just completely collapsed. And then in 25-26, just this past season, they were 24-21-14 before the LA Kings decided they had enough and fired him on March 1st. And apparently the Maple Leafs had interviews with 55 head coach candidates, and they were like, you know what, Jim Hiller's the guy.
That's bullshit.
It's BS. It's insane.
No, I'm not saying it's bullshit that they had 55 interviews. I think it's ridiculous that they had 55 interviews. I think that's just John Chayka trying to overcompensate for everyone saying that he's incompetent and doesn't deserve the GM job. So, no, I deserve this job. Look, I interviewed 55 guys for this job. Look, that's how dedicated I am. 55 fucking guys, and you just end up hiring a dude that got fired mid-season last year after choking in the playoffs and regressing with the Kings. Mm-hmm. I think it's a silly hire. I mean, it's not offensively bad. Like, he has NHL experience. It's not like he's not incompetent.
We always see it with the recycled head coaches where they'll just end up like being a coach for 2 years and then they get fired, and then like a year later they'll get rehired. Like, I would have rather seen a guy like Jay Woodcroft get, another shot at this thing. Like, he wasn't necessarily bad with the Oilers in his last head coaching gig. It was just they were going on that skid. They got fired, brought in Knoblauch, whatever.
I mean, I think he got fired for the same reason why Hiller got fired in LA was, they had good regular seasons. They'd make the playoffs, and then it was fail to make any adjustments in the playoffs or rise to the occasion. So, for Toronto, I really view this as, I think they really want to see how next year goes. I think John Chayka doesn't know what to make of this roster. Mm-hmm. And see what the fuck happens next year. I guess you're counting on Austin Matthews coming back and being 100%, and Nylander and Tavares and Matthew Knies, if they end up keeping him. I mean, I don't think they're going to trade him now that Chayka's there. Mm-hmm. But if Treliving was still the GM over the summer, I think they would have ended up trading Knies. But, yeah, I don't know what his plan is, but he interviewed 55 coaches, right? And out of 55, he was the best guy, right? 55.
And you know what? I mean, Jim Hiller.
That's ridiculous.
He really went in there, impressed them out of 55 guys. Which personally, now, do I think that Chayka over-exaggerated the 55 guys? Maybe. I mean, I don't
think he's lying. I don't think you would just say that number. I think he's being serious. I think it's absurd to have 55 interviews. Like, how many of these could you take completely seriously? Like, I don't get it. Like, I understand doing due diligence and, like, having a long list of guys and then, going through their history and stuff like that. But they sit down, like, what does he count as an interview? Calling on the phone and saying, hey, do you ever think about coaching in the NHL?
Yeah. I mean,
like, would you consider that an interview? I wouldn't. No. I would consider, like, you go in and meet them, like you have a serious couple-hour discussion. What's your vision for the team? What's your coaching style? Like, have an honest conversation about that kind of stuff, not have phone interviews or ask what your thoughts are on a guy and then get, like, what does he count? It's like, let's say I want to hire you as a coach, Zach, and I call one of your friends. It's like, how do you think Zach would be as a coach? And they say, oh, he'd be fucking shit. And it's like, okay, then I'm not going to hire him. Like, does that count as an interview?
It shouldn't. Like,
I don't know, but John Shaker, he's a bullshit guy, right?
Right.
That's what he did in Arizona. He was the king of fucking bullshit.
Mm-hmm. And if you're John Jacob, right, and you go in and, like, is this an interview? Like, you go, yeah, would you be excited to coach a guy like Austin Matthews and William Nylander, Matthew Knives? Yeah, all right, I appreciate your interest in the Maple Leafs job. We'll get back to you.
Well, what the fuck are they going to say no to that?
Right?
No, I don't want to coach Austin Matthews. Why?
No.
He scores too much. I'll make the rest of our team look bad.
Yeah, it's just bad for the team morale,
Yeah, to have a 50, 60 goal scorer on your fucking team.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the Leafs, the direction they're going in is just going downhill. And, I mean, they were in such a good spot even a couple of years ago, and the organization just ruined everything. And, like, I don't know. I don't get the Maple Leafs, but it is what it is. We'll let their downfall be happening. It all comes down to this: a best-of-7 battle, and DraftKings has you covered every step of the way. The DraftKings Sports app is now available in all 50 states and includes all markets. Sweat every shift of the series, all in one place with one app. New DraftKings customers sign up with code THPN, spend $5 to get $200 in rewards within 21 days. That's code THPN in partnership with DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That is 467-3669. In Connecticut, help is available for gambling problems. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas, fees may apply in Illinois. Must be the age of 21 years or older. Age and eligibility vary by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos for details. NFL Sunday ticket offer for new subscribers only. Auto renews until canceled. Digital games and commercial use excluded. Restrictions apply. Additional terms at youtube.com/NFL Sunday ticket/terms. Limited time offer.
All right, before we jump right back into the episode, we got to shout out today's sponsor, 500 Levels. Listen, if you're a hockey fan, a sports fan, or honestly someone who just wants to rep clean, high-quality sports apparel gear without paying stupid prices, 500 Levels is where it's at. These guys make some of the best player-inspired designs in the game, not the generic stuff. I'm talking unique, original artwork that actually looks good. You want vintage vibes? They got it. You want bold, modern designs? They've got that too. Use code CFB Pod at checkout for 20% off your entire order. Again, code CFB Pod for 20% off. Moving on to the Stanley Cup Finals. First off, congratulations to the Stanley Cup Finals for defeating the Golden Knights in 6 games to bring home the...
What was that sentence? You said congratulations to the Stanley Cup Finals on beating the Vegas Golden Knights in 6 games.
I didn't say Carolina, bro. I swear I said Carolina.
No, you said Stanley Cup Final.
Okay, well, congratulations on the Carolina Hurricanes for defeating the Vegas Golden Knights in the Stanley Cup Finals. They go ahead. They win Game 6, 3-0. Jordan Staal gets the Conn Smythe there. I think he had like 68% of the votes or something for the Conn Smythe there. So congratulations to him. And yeah, the Hurricanes, they take down the Knights here in 6 games. And I mean, I'm happy for them. I know, again, they got over the hump with this era of Carolina. They've been trying it. There were questions over the last couple of years about if they should let go of Rod Brind'Amour, and they said, nope, we're not going to do it. We're going to keep going and pushing. And Tulsky, they bring in his GM a couple of years ago, and I mean, he did a phenomenal job in the offseason building this team. And overall, I mean, going out and getting like Ehlers, going out and trading for Miller, signing Blake and Stankoven to cheaper deals. Like, they're locked up for a long time here. Like, I mean, taking bets on guys. Aho sticks it with it. When he signed an extension in 2022-23, the thing that went into it was he wanted to be loyal to the crest in Carolina. He, got drafted there, grew up there, and he wanted to finish it out with Rod, and he finally got it. So I'm honestly happy for them. I can't lie.
Who are you talking about?
The Hurricanes.
No, what player?
Oh, Aho.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I thought in Game 6, the defense they played was just out of this world. I don't know where the hell they still have all this energy stored up after playing so many games this season. And I mean, Vegas did have a couple incredible scoring chances late in the game. Eichel hit a crossbar from point blank range. Can't happen. There was another player. I forgot it might have been. I want to say Dorofeyev, maybe.
It was Dorofeyev.
Yeah, and is it Dorofeyev or Dorofeyev?
I don't know. I've heard both, so we can go with whatever you said.
I don't know, but too many missed opportunities for Vegas. Mm-hmm. Bossy made the saves he needed to. I thought he was really good in Game 6. Carolina, it's impressive to look at their team with the roster they made up because they have $12 million in cap space. Mm-hmm. I think they might have been the only team that had more than a couple $1 million in cap space. I think Montreal had a good amount too, just because they have so many guys on low-paying contracts. I think this was like last year, Cole Hudson's ELC. So they had a lot of high-impact guys on low salaries. But, just the way they built this team, that bottom six is relentless. They took a bunch of guys that didn't really fit in other places, and they really bought into Rod Brendamore's system. They really play for each other. They really play well as a team. People are saying, Aho, didn't really have a great series offensively or a great playoff offensively, but he stepped up and played the defense he needed to. Ehlers had a great Stanley Cup final as well. Jordan Staal, he plays so well in the Stanley Cup final, he ends up getting the Conn Smythe because of it. Where, I don't know, I think I probably would have chosen Taylor Hall if it wasn't going to be Staal. Mm-hmm. It's tall. I was happy to see him win the cup. He seems like a really good guy, but just an impressive team throughout the roster. They don't really make mistakes. They don't have a guy that jumps off the page to you and I was like, oh, this guy's a game breaker. Or they just have a bunch of guys that play as a well-oiled machine. They don't make mistakes. They stick to their game plan. And the difference this year in this playoff run is they got the goaltending when they needed it.
Yes, and you look at previous Carolina teams, and this is why this team is different. First off, they won 16-3, absurd run. Secondly, as well,
they kind of had an easy run to the Stanley Cup final, especially the first two rounds.
Easy, speezy. It is what it is. They won the Stanley Cup. That's just what I say.
I'm not discounting the cup. You still won the Stanley Cup. No one's going to take that away from you ever.
But I get you. Like, you're not running through a gauntlet like Vegas had to run through Colorado, and
pretty good young Anaheim team.
Yeah,
decent Utah team that choked multiple games.
I get that, but at the end of the day, too, everybody was picking the Senators, and I get the Flyers were a pushover in my opinion, but I don't think the Senators.
Well, Frederik Andersen played out of his mind in the first round.
Oh, he did, and
he still won his Allmark. That game was like a defensive battle, which plays to Carolina's strength.
And which is why they ended up sweeping the series, right? And you look at the goaltending you brought up there, and Frederik Andersen in Game 2 suffered a knee injury. He tried to play through it in Game 3. Eventually, he wasn't able to play the rest of the series there. Brandon Bussy comes in, and he plays lights out, goes 3-0, and he played phenomenal. I mean, he wasn't asked to do a whole much, especially behind that defensive structure. And I really thought that because Brandon Bussy plays such a different style of goaltender than Andersen, that really threw off Vegas. And again, I know it's like NHL, do all this and everything, but
it's genuinely rare to have a goalie that catches with his right hand in the NHL.
Yeah,
genuinely rare. I think when he came in, I think his first play when he came into the Stanley Cup Finals, which Mitch Marner had that penalty shot, and I think that's the reason he didn't score is because he shot with his right hand, and Mitch Marner didn't even know he was in the net.
No, and which is a huge advantage if you're, going into a series, right? Like you come in the middle of it, in the middle of a game, right? And the team's just you catch with your right hand. All of a sudden now, Frederik Andersen's weak spot now saying might be over his right shoulder, right? But then Brandon Bussy, that's his strong suit because it's his glove, and it's not you have different.
We just got to shoot differently on them too because they have different strengths and weaknesses, like you said. I frankly, I don't think I've ever played against a goalie that catches with his right hand. Not that I can remember. That's how it's very rare. So,
yeah, Oh no, I was gonna say what's rarer, but then I couldn't think of something else that was extremely fucking rare. Besides a goalie catching with his right glove.
Yeah, it's pretty rare, and I can't really recall any other goalies off the top of my head. I'm sure there's been some decent ones that caught right-handed, but I think they were saying the last goalie that caught with his right hand that won a Stanley Cup was, I think it was Andrew Raycroft.
That long ago? That's
Let me look that up.
I mean, yeah, you come across a right-handed goaltender, and you're just like, fuck, like it's. I guess let me say this: it's rarer than seeing.
No, not Raycroft. He was for Pittsburgh when they won the cup in the '90s. I don't know why the fuck I saw it. I don't know, but whoever the goalie was in the '90s, I believe that's what they said on ESPN. At least was the last goalie that caught with his right hand to win the Stanley Cup.
At this point, man, it is more likely to you are more likely to get hit by a lightning bolt than you are to see a goaltender catch with his right hand in the Stanley Cup Finals. Like, that's crazy. Like,
I believe it was Tom Barrasso.
Okay, there we go. Tom, you're a beauty.
Hey, he's a Hall of Famer, man.
Yeah, I know. Listen, Tom, man, you're in the Hockey Hall. Like, you had a successful career. What brings this Carolina Hurricanes team better than, or I guess different, is one guy. And I think that one guy is Nikolai Ehlers. And I know we talked about it in a previous episode where over the last couple of years, they tried to go out and get a Rantanen and again, so on. It didn't work out, right? But Tulski made a conscious effort to go out and sign Nikolai Ehlers in the offseason for $8.5 million, right? It was a 6 by 8.5, right? And Nikolai Ehlers comes in. He got off to a little bit of a slow start in Carolina. He picked it up later in the season, right? In the playoffs, in my opinion, he was a difference maker because they were able to take that pressure off with Svechnikov and Jarvis and Aho, and then let them do their thing in top-line match because Aho, I mean, defensively, he was stellar. He won faceoffs. He did his role well. That let Ehlers and Hall and Blake and Stankoven really take over the load offensively, which I think was huge. Like, they got contributions in every single phase of the game by each individual player. And then, you know, you go out and get a guy like Keandre Miller, which I thought was the team's best defenseman, in my opinion, did surpass Jacob Slavin as the team's best defenseman in these playoffs because simply of his puck moving, his two-way ability. And, I mean, don't get me wrong, Slavin has 0 penalty minutes in his last 30 playoff games that he's played. And on top of it, defensively, he was also stellar. I thought he had a very good overall playoffs. This team was just so deep, and they have $12.5 million of cap space to work with. Like, they don't have anybody big to go out and just re-sign, like RFAs, UFAs. Like, they have Nikolai Delorier, Alexander Nikishin, and Mike Riley are the only pending guys.
Mike Riley ain't coming back next year.
Yeah, he's not coming back. You know, just figured out throughout the day.
Neither's Delorier. That was just, trade deadline. Nikishin, I don't know if they'll bridge him or give him a big boy contract right away, but yeah, he's going to be a really good player for them.
Yeah, he is. And another thing that came up with it as well. So, Brendan Moore, okay, I got some things to touch on him because in the offseason, he ended up doing like this, making this 35-pound cinder block lift mandatory, part of the Canes offseason workout. He calls it the blue collar press. So he would have the players, he wouldn't tell the players why that he would do it, but he had the players do it in the offseason, and it turns out it was for this exact moment. So they, Stanley Cup's 35 pounds for those of you who don't know, and he did that. So, I mean, I just thought that was a little fun bit to throw in.
How did none of the players ever realize that? That thing was like the only player I'll give the benefit that was Seth Jarvis because I heard that dude's an absolute moron. But
I wonder who's more of a moron, Zach Benson or Seth Jarvis. We got to have some type of competition.
They got to do like NHL Jeopardy and have like the 3 dumbest guys in the league go on there.
Get like a number of players to vote, like. And just
I don't know if you saw this video. So Zach Benson and Connor Timmins with the Sabres went and visited the Bills practice, and they got like a tour of the new arena, stadium, and everything. And one of the Bills players asked Benson where he's from. And he said, "Oh, Vancouver." He's like, "Oh, where is that?" Like, it's on the West Coast, right? He's like, right over Seattle. I was like, I don't know. You're asking the wrong guy. He's like, What? Dude, you lived there. What?
Oh my God. Zach Benson's sitting there, bro. Zach Benson seems like a guy who is going to be asked that question, high state. He's going to be like, I don't know. Oh, he's just going to be fucking staring off in the distance type shit, bro.
Dude, you're from Vancouver. Seattle's literally like 20 miles to the south of you. I think it's closer than that. Yeah. It's like, I'm not expecting you to go and like name the city you go find on a map, but if you're from Vancouver, you should know where Seattle is.
Yeah, Seattle's a major city.
It wouldn't shock me if he can't even point at Vancouver on a map, to be honest with you. I'm surprised he knew it was out west.
Bro, you going to give him a map, he's going to be like, I don't know.
He's like, I don't even know where we are, dude.
Like, are we? Dude, that's fucking hilarious. Oh my God. I didn't see that clip. That's funny. Dude, I can't believe you insulted fucking Jarvie like that right out the gate. Oh my God, that was funny.
I've seen nothing but people talk about online about how dumb he is. Like in a fun way.
Yeah.
I'm not calling him like a moron. Like it's like golden retriever type energy where they're like, yeah, I play hockey, yeah.
Yeah, dude, we need, imagine Seth Jarvis and Benson on the show at the same time. They both have that golden retriever energy, like you said. They both are just like too dumb to not understand.
They're too dumb to be afraid of things. Yeah, like Zach Benson will like fight. He probably fights Zdeno Chara if Chara asks him to fight. And they're like, dude, you will die. Don't fight him. He's like, he can't hurt me that much, right? It's just a dude.
He's like, it's just hockey, you know? Yeah, so. Well, another point I want to bring up here before we close things out. Personally, now, with the Stanley Cup win for Rod Brind'Amour, I absolutely think he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Like, no ifs, ands, or buts.
But I believe they look at that separately.
Oh, like the player and coaches are complete separate?
I think you either get in as a player or as like a contributor. Like I think they view coaches as contributors. I'm not sure how it works as a guy that was a coach and a player. Like with Patrick Waugh, for instance, like he's in the Hall of Fame as a player. Like let's say he keeps on coaching and he ends up getting another job somewhere and he wins like 3 Stanley Cups or something and he has like a Hall of Fame resume as a coach. Does he get in again as a contributor to the game? Or like as a coach, I think I'm pretty sure the Hall of Fame views that as 2 separate things.
Okay. Interesting, because he's not in the Hall of Fame as a player, right?
Rod Brind'Amour?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, listen, in my opinion, like put him in the Hall of Fame as like a head coach. Like he's won
1 cup, dude.
I know he's won 1 cup.
He's not a Hall of Fame coach right now.
He's led the Hurricanes to the most wins since 2019 in the NHL, and he has the playoff resume. I understand it's 1 cup, but, I mean, he's done a phenomenal job. Personally,
he's a great coach. He's probably the best coach in Hurricanes history. He's the best player in Hurricanes history, obviously. He'll probably have a statue outside the arena by the time he's done. I think it would be cool if they had one of him raising the cup as a player and one raising him as a coach. I think that'd be dope.
Like a side-by-side thing?
Mm-hmm.
That'd be sick.
Or like handing the cup to the player version handing the cup to the coach version of him.
That would be sick.
I think that would be a really cool statue to put outside the arena. But for sure, like a Hall of Famer, like I believe his number's already retired by the Hurricanes, and he's like the franchise icon for the Carolina Hurricanes.
When you think of the Hurricanes, you think of Rod Brind'Amour. You do. Like
I think for a while it was probably Eric Stahl.
It was, yes.
But now that Rod Brind'Amour, what he's done as a coach, I think has kind of surpassed him, in at least in that franchise like lore as like the face of the franchise. Mm-hmm. Like I would say that's the case probably with like maybe the Sabres and Lindy Ruff, where Lindy Ruff had such a long history with the team as a player, as a coach, that he's like one of the icons of the franchise, even though he hasn't had the success that Rod Brind'Amour had in kind of a situation like that, where he's just so beloved by fans of every generation of that team that's just who they think of.
Yeah, and moving over to the Vegas side here, where I don't know if you saw the interview that Marner had or whatever, the question that was asked, because Marner was now asked about his dark times in Toronto. And basically, to sum it up here, he said there were times he didn't even want to play hockey. Like, he got that bad, like just the atmosphere in Toronto, and seeing a bunch of like Leafs fans cry online is amusing because they're like, oh, this is just a cop out for, this and that and the third. I'm like, dude, like he literally was getting death threats. He was getting people literally showing up at his house. He needed to hire security. Like, this just became an unsafe thing. And the fact that everything in Toronto with the media just pressuring and the losing in the playoffs just got to him mentally. And I feel for the guy genuinely. I'm honestly, even though they did lose in the finals, I am glad he did find a place here in Vegas that does appreciate him, that went out of their way to go out and get them. And overall, I mean, yeah, Marner, he opened up about it, and I feel for the guy. But yeah, that's all I got on it. But
yeah, I think it was just tough situation where I think it was just a lot of things kind of hitting him at once, and it could be tough to manage, especially with all that pressure on you. Yeah, and he just needed to get out of there, get somewhere new. Good for him. I'm sure Vegas will be back. I think they have some things they need to address this offseason. I think not really having a bottom pair they could really heavily rely on in the playoffs hurt them. Most of the Stanley Cup final, they were just rolling 4D. In the game where Brady McNabb had to leave the game early when he got hit in the face with a puck, they essentially played 3D that night. They kept rotating a fourth guy in. So you're kind of at a disadvantage where you're only really playing 3 or 4 defensemen a night. So, and I thought goaltending was an issue also for Vegas in the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah, it got to a point for Vegas where you were thin on D, right? I mean, credit to McNabb for coming back the game after.
They needed him. Yeah. Absolutely needed him.
Yes, what a warrior he is. And then, the goaltending wasn't great, right? And I'm not going to sit here and put all of the blame on Carter. I'll admit he was pretty putrid, but also the team in front of him was allowing, grade A opportunities. Like, when returning.
I don't know if I'd say that. I think he led some softies.
Oh, he absolutely led in some softies. I'm not going to sit here and defend him, but there were times too where, there was a turnover. I think it was in game 4, for example, where, on Carolina's third goal, it was like a pizza pass up the middle of the ice right to a Hurricane, and he just buries it. Like, it was just moments like that. But again, Carter Hart wasn't great, and if I'm Vegas, I just go out this offseason. I want to address goaltending, right? I wouldn't feel comfortable with Carter Hart being my starting goaltender, and I want to move off Hill. Now,
that Hill contract's not getting moved. There's no one that's going to take that contract.
It's like absolutely bad. Like, we're not talking like bad as in like maybe you're going to have to throw in a pick. Like, nobody's taking that.
No, because I don't think Vegas would be willing to retain any salary on it. Why would you? Especially with the term left. I believe he has 5 years left. He has 5 years, including this year, left on the contract at a $6.25 million cap hit. He has a 10-team no-trade list. So you're already limited by 10 teams. And the issue is the cap hit and the term. No one, that contract's unmovable right now. You're stuck with Adin Hill. I don't know where his head's at right now, especially with. I don't think Tortorella was trying to take a jab at Hill at all when that reporter asked him, "Have you ever thought about giving Adin Hill a look?" And he's like, "Oh, that's the dumbest question I've ever heard." Mm-hmm. Look, I get he's trying to stand up for his guy in Carter Hart, who he knows probably hasn't been playing well. Confidence isn't the highest, but. I don't think Torts cares. He probably knew there was like a decent chance he was going to be back there next year anyway, so who gives a fuck?
Yeah, I mean, that was when he answered that. I'm like, oh, well, he clearly believes in Hart. I didn't think he was. I guess I should say I thought he was kind of throwing a jab at Hill because I've heard like nobody really in the organization has trusted him in the crease. I mean, again, I understand he dealt with injuries, only played 27 games.
I mean, he was pretty bad this year though when he did play.
He was like, it was like 870 save percentage, whatever it was. But if you're Tortorella, like, I'm sure there are different ways to go about answering that. But again, like you're coming off a really bad game, right? The emotions are high. Like your backs are up against the wall. Like it's just emotions fuming. Like I get the answer. I'm defending your guy, like you said. That's going to end it for today's episode. If you guys enjoy all of our content, head over down to the description below to check us out on all of our social media platforms. Subscribe, notification bell over on YouTube. Follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And we will see you guys in our next episode.